Imagine waking up on a Tuesday morning. The sun is shining through the skylights of your brand new kitchen extension. You are drinking your coffee, looking out at the garden, feeling proud. You spent 3 years saving for this. You spent £40,000 of your hard-earned money. You endured months of dust, noise, and builders trampling through your hallway. But it was worth it. This space is finally perfect. Then the letterbox rattles. You pick up a brown envelope with the council logo on it. You open it expecting a council tax bill or a voting card. But it isn't. It is an enforcement notice, and in bold capital letters, it says 4 words that will stop your heart. Demolish the unauthorized structure. You panic. You think there must be a mistake. You followed the rules. The builder told you it was permitted development. You didn't need full planning permission. You measured everything. But the letter explains that your neighbour, the one you thought you were on good terms with, has complained. They say your new wall blocks their sunlight. They say it invades their privacy. And the council agrees. You have 28 days to tear it down. Not only is your £40,000 gone, but you now have to pay another £15,000 to hire a demolition crew to destroy your own dream. This is not a horror movie. This is a reality happening to thousands of homeowners across the United Kingdom right now. In 2026, the planning laws have become a weapon. Neighbours are using ancient laws about right to light and new strict enforcement rules to target extensions, garden rooms, and loft conversions. If you think you are safe because your builder said it's fine, you are in the danger zone. In this video, I'm going to expose the planning nightmare. I'm going to show you exactly how the council can force you to demolish your property even years after it was built. I will explain the permitted development trap that catches out 90% of people. I will reveal the 45-degree rule that your architect might have missed. And most importantly, I am going to tell you how to bulletproof your home against these attacks. You need to watch this video until the very last second. Do not click away. Because in the final section, I am going to reveal the 4-year rule change. A massive shift in the law that happened recently, which means you are no longer safe just because you got away with it for a few years. If you missed that explanation, you could wake up to a demolition order in 2030 for a shed you build today. I will also give you the golden paper strategy, the one document you must get from the council that stops them from ever touching your property, no matter how much your neighbours complain. If you own a home, or if you plan to renovate one, this information is not just optional, it is financial survival. Let's get into it. To understand why this is happening, we first have to understand the myth of permitted development. Most people in the UK believe that if they stick to certain measurements, they can build whatever they want. The rules say you can extend the rear of your detached house by 4 metres or your terrace house by 3 metres without needing a full planning application. You read this on the government website. Your builder nods and says, "Yeah, mate, it's permitted development, crack on." This is where the nightmare begins. Permitted development is not a right. It is a set of extremely strict criteria. If you fail even one of them by a single centimetre, the entire structure becomes illegal. Let me give you a real-world example. A family in Bristol built a stunning rear extension. They measured 3 metres from the back wall. Perfect. But they didn't realise that the original rear wall was defined as the wall that stood there in 1948. The previous owner had added a small utility room in the 1980s. The new family measured from the 1980s wall, not the 1948 wall. They were technically 6 metres out from the original house. The neighbour complained. The planning officer came round with a laser measure. The verdict? Illegal. The remedy? Total demolition. They lost £60,000 because they measured from the wrong brick. This happens every single day. The council does not negotiate. They do not care that you didn't know. Ignorance of the planning law is not a defence. But the trap goes deeper. Even if your measurements are perfect, your neighbours have a weapon that overrides almost everything. It is called the right to light. This is not a modern planning rule. It is a law from the Prescription Act of 1832. Yes, a law from the 19th century can force you to tear down your modern extension. The law states that if a window in your neighbour's house has received natural daylight for 20 years or more, they have acquired a right to light. If your new extension blocks that light, even by a small amount, they can take you to court. This is not a council matter. This is a civil court matter. And the courts are brutal. There was a famous case where a developer built an entire block of flats. They had planning permission. The council said yes, but a nearby building claimed a loss of light. The judge didn't order compensation. The judge ordered the top 2 floors of the finished building to be sliced off. Now, apply that to your kitchen extension. If your neighbour proves that your new wall makes their kitchen 5% darker, they can get an injunction to stop your build or force you to reverse it. And here is the scary part. They don't have to tell you until you have finished building it. They can watch you spend all your money, wait for the final coat of paint to dry, and then slap you with a legal letter. It is the ultimate spite move, and it is perfectly legal. Then we have the privacy and overlooking rules. This is where the 45-degree rule comes into play. If you draw a line at 45 degrees from the centre of your neighbour's nearest window, your extension cannot cross that line. It sounds simple, but on a terraced street or a semi-detached house, it is incredibly tight. Many builders ignore this. They build straight out. The neighbour complains that your new wall is overbearing or creates a tunnel effect. The planning officer visits. If they agree that you have impacted the residential amenity of your neighbour, the structure comes down. I want to talk about garden rooms for a moment. Since the remote working boom, everyone wants a posh shed or an office in the garden. The companies selling these garden rooms always say, "No planning permission needed. It is under 2.5 metres tall." They are lying to you, or at least they are telling you half the truth. Yes, if it is under 2.5 metres, it might be permitted, but not if it covers more than 50% of your garden, not if it is forward of the principal elevation, and absolutely not if you plan to sleep in it. The moment you put a sofa bed and a shower in that garden room, the council classifies it as a separate dwelling. You have effectively built a new house in your garden without permission. We are seeing a massive crackdown on these beds in sheds. Neighbours are using drones to take photos of people living in garden rooms. They report it to the enforcement team. The enforcement team issues a notice. You have to rip out the kitchen, the bathroom, and the insulation, rendering your £20,000 investment useless. In some cases, if you have run water and electricity to it without building regulations sign-off, you are facing unlimited fines. And let's talk about the cost. We are not just talking about the money you spent to build it. Let's say you spent £40,000. That money is gone, burned. But demolition is expensive. You have to hire skips. You have to hire labourers. You have to pay landfill tax on the rubble. Demolishing a standard extension costs between £10,000 and £15,000. Then you have to pay to make good the original house, plastering the hole where the extension used to be, putting the old doors back in. That is another £5,000. So, a £40,000 extension actually costs you £60,000 to remove. It is financial suicide. But the psychological toll is worse. Living in a house where you are at war with your neighbours is hell. Every time you go into the garden, they are watching. Every time a delivery van arrives, they are taking notes. The enforcement notice is a public document. It goes on the register. If you try to sell your house to escape the nightmare, the buyer's solicitor will see the notice. They will see that there is an illegal structure that needs to be demolished. The value of your house drops to zero. No mortgage lender will touch a property with an active enforcement notice. You are trapped. You cannot sell. you cannot stay. You have to pay. You might be thinking, this won't happen to me, my neighbours are nice. Do not bet your life savings on that. Neighbours change. Maybe the nice old lady next door moves out and a professional landlord buys the house. He doesn't care about being friends. He cares about his rental yield. If he thinks your extension lowers the value of his asset, he will report you. Maybe your nice neighbour gets divorced and becomes bitter. The point is, permitted development relies on interpretation, and interpretation is subjective. What you think is a subservient addition, the council might see as a monstrous overdevelopment. For decades, there was a famous loophole in planning law known as the 4-year rule. It was the get-out-of-jail-free card for homeowners. The rule was simple. If you built an extension or a garage or a loft conversion without planning permission and you managed to hide it from the council for 4 years, it automatically became legal. It was called immunity from suits, enforcement. People would build cheeky extensions, keep their heads down, pray the neighbours didn't complain, and after 48 months, they would pop the champagne. They were safe. The council could no longer touch them. But I have bad news. That rule is dead. Under the new Levelling Up and Regeneration Act, the government has quietly abolished the 4-year rule for operational development. They have extended the immunity period to 10 years. This is a seismic shift. It means that if you built a garden room or an extension 5 years ago, thinking you were safe because you passed the 4-year mark, you are wrong. You are now back in the danger zone. The council now has a full decade to come after you. Imagine this scenario. You bought a house in 2020. The previous owner had built a nice rear extension in 2018. Your solicitor checked and said, "Don't worry, it was built 2 years ago. In another 2 years it will be immune." You bought the house, you are living there, happily. But now, the law has changed. That extension is no longer immune. It won't be immune until 2028, if a neighbour complains tomorrow, or if a planning officer drives past and notices it. They can issue an enforcement notice against you. You didn't build it. You didn't break the law. But as the current owner, you are liable. You are the one who has to pay for the demolition. This change has retroactively weaponized thousands of safe properties into financial liabilities. And it gets worse. If the council can prove that you deliberately concealed the development, there is no time limit at all. There was a famous case involving a farmer who built a castle behind a giant stack of hay bales. He hid it for 4 years, then removed the hay bales and claimed immunity. The Supreme Court ruled that because he actively deceived the council, the immunity clock never started. He had to knock down the castle. While you might not be hiding a castle behind hay bales, be very careful. If you didn't update your council tax records to show the new room, or if you planted fast-growing Leylandii trees to block the view from the road, the council can argue concealment. If they win that argument, they can come after you 20 years later. So, how do you sleep at night? How do you protect your £40,000 investment from jealous neighbours and aggressive planning officers? You need the golden paper. It is technically called a Certificate of Lawfulness, or a Lawful Development Certificate. This is the only document that matters. It is a legal document from the council that formally confirms, yes, this structure is legal. Yes, it meets all the permitted development criteria. We can never take action against it. Most people don't get this. They rely on their builder saying, "It's permitted development, mate." A builder's opinion is not a legal document. A builder's opinion will not stop a demolition order. A certificate of lawfulness will. Here is the strategy you need to follow. If you are planning to build, do not just start digging. Apply for a Certificate of Lawfulness of Proposed Use. You send your drawings to the council before you start. They check the measurements. They check the 45-degree rule. They check the history of the house. And they issue the certificate. It costs roughly £100 to £200, half the price of a skip. If you've already built the extension and you are now panicking because of this video, do not worry. You can apply for a Certificate of Lawfulness of Existing Use. You send them the evidence. You show them the photos of when it was built. You show them the builder's invoices. If everything complies with the permitted development rules, they will issue the certificate retroactively. This piece of paper is bulletproof. If your neighbour complains about right to light or privacy after you have this certificate, the planning enforcement officer will look at the certificate and tells the neighbour to go away. It is an impenetrable shield. Furthermore, you cannot sell a house in 2026 without this piece of paper. Conveyancing solicitors have become incredibly strict. If you are selling your house for £400,000 and you have a lovely kitchen extension but no planning permission and no certificate of lawfulness, the buyer's solicitor will advise them to pull out. Or they will demand a £20,000 discount to cover the risk. I have seen house sales collapse on the day of exchange because the seller couldn't prove the extension was legal. Don't be that seller. Spending £200 today saves you £20,000 tomorrow. There is one final layer of protection: indemnity insurance. If you are buying a house and it lacks the paperwork, and there isn't time to apply for a certificate, your solicitor might suggest an indemnity policy. This is an insurance policy that pays out if the council takes enforcement action. It is a quick fix, usually costing a few £100s. But be warned, it only pays for financial loss. It pays for the cost of the demolition and the loss of value to the house. It does not stop the demolition. If the council orders you to tear it down, the insurance will write you a cheque, but you still lose your kitchen. You still have to live through the misery of the wrecking ball. The Certificate of Lawfulness prevents the wrecking ball. Insurance just pays for the clean-up. Always choose the certificate if you can. Let's summarise the reality of home ownership in the UK right now. The councils are broke. Birmingham, Nottingham, Woking. They have all issued Section 114 notices, effectively declaring bankruptcy. When a council is broke, they look for revenue, they look for fines, and they look for easy wins. An illegal extension is an easy win. The planning department is under pressure to enforce. At the same time, we have a housing crisis where neighbours are living on top of each other. Tensions are high, people are petty. The days of a gentleman's agreement over the garden fence are gone. If you are spending your life savings on improving your home, you must treat it like a military operation. Do not trust the builder's word. Do not trust the architect's handshake. Trust the legislation. Trust the certificate. If your extension falls foul of the right to light law from 1832 or the new 10-year rule from 2023, you are the one who pays the price. The system is designed to catch you out. It is a maze of red tape where one wrong turn leads to a demolition order. But now you have the map. You know about the certificate. You know about the 45-degree rule. You are armed with the knowledge that 99% of homeowners lack. So here is my challenge to you. If you have had work done in the last 10 years, go and find your paperwork. Do you have a Certificate of Lawfulness? If not, apply for one this week. If you are planning a build, add £100 to your budget and get the certificate before you buy a single brick. It is the best insurance policy you will ever buy. I want to hear from you in the comments. Have you had a planning nightmare? Has a neighbour tried to block your extension using the right to light? Or have you successfully fought off the council? Share your stories below. We are building a community here to help each other navigate this minefield, and your story might save someone else from making a £40,000 mistake. If this video opened your eyes to the hidden dangers of the UK planning system, please hit that like button. It tells YouTube that this is important information that every homeowner needs to see. And make sure you are subscribed with the notification bell turned on. In my next video, I am going to expose the service charge scandal. Why people living in freehold houses are legally being forced to pay thousands of pounds a year to private management companies for cutting the grass. It is the next big housing scandal, and you need to know if your house is on the list. You do not want to miss it. Until then, protect your home, get your paperwork in order, and I will see you in the next one.